Okay, so today we are going to be working on the owl-inspired baby sleep sack. And actually for this one I'm using Bernat premium yarn. My written pattern, where if you don't already have the written pattern, there is a link to it in the description below. You can go ahead and get it. It's an instant download PDF format. You could print it off and have it there with you. And in that one, I do recommend the Red Heart Super Saver, I believe it is that I said. But it doesn't really make a difference. I find the Bernat Premium and Red Heart Super Saver the same. So I'm using 3 different colors. Totally up to you how you want to do it, how many colors you want to use. But for this pattern, for those of you that possibly are trying to follow exactly what you saw in the picture, I am using 3. So let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to start with making our starting loop. So, and I will just give you a quick little warning here, and then I'm not going to chat too much while we're doing the actual project. But I do go over every single step in my tutorials clearly to try and make sure that no matter what your skill level is, that you can follow along and feel confident following my tutorials. I don't assume that I don't assume the experience level, because I figure I want it to be where you can feel comfortable no matter what your skill level is. If I am still moving too fast and you need me to go over a specific stitch, either just rewind back and replay, or you can refer to the stitch tutorials that I have where I focus on specific stitches. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so starting loop, you're just going to wrap the yarn around your finger and cross it over like this. Lift up this little bottom piece and push that top piece of yarn just partially through. And then give it a little tug and it'll form a ring. Put your hook in there and just snug it up. Okay, so we are going to begin by doing a chain of 51. So this particular stitch that we're going to start with for the feathers, it's actually called the crocodile stitch. You can find that specific stitch tutorial in my stitch tutorials, but I am going to go over it pretty well in this one. But so for the purpose of this stitch, just so you know, for future projects or anything, it works in multiples of 6 plus 3. So your chain has to be in multiples of 6 plus 3. So we are going to do 51. You're just going to yarn over your hook and pull through the loop. Yarn over, pull through the loop. Yarn over, pull through the loop. Yarn over, pull through the loop, and that's it. So you're just going to keep on going until you do a total of 51. So what do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4. You need to keep going until you get to 51. So pause, chain 51, and then come back. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to double crochet in the 3rd chain from the hook. So there's our first chain, 1, 2, 3. We're going to double crochet into that chain. So you're going to yarn over your hook, push it right through the chain, yarn over your hook, and pull up a loop. So now you should have 3 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2. So that's a double crochet. Now at the start of our rows, our chain, well, in this case, it's not actually a chain 3, but it is 3 chains because we skipped the first couple. So the chain counts as a double crochet. So now you're going to chain 2. 1, 2, sorry, just lost it there. 2. And we're going to skip the next 2 chains, skip those 2. And then working in that 3rd one, we're going to do 2 double crochets. So yarn over your hook, push it through the chain, yarn over, pull up a loop. You should have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, and pull through the last 2. Okay, so we're going to do another one in that same chain space, another double crochet. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to chain 2 again. We're going to skip these next 2 chains. Going into the 3rd one there, we're going to work 2 double crochet. So you're going to keep on doing this, following this pattern all the way down the row. Okay, so now you're going to chain 2, skip 2 chains, 2 double crochet, chain 2, skip the next 2, double crochet in the third. Okay, so you're going to do that all the way down and then come back to me. So pause the video, do that all the way down, and then come back. So now that you've gotten to the end of your row, we're going to begin the next step. So this is where it gets a little bit tricky. If you are following the written pattern, that's great, because it's going to be good for you to understand what this wording means. And again, for those of you that don't have the written pattern, if you want it, you can get it through the link in the description below. But in a few other patterns, you'll find this. It's not the most common thing that you'll see, but you will find this, this wording in a couple of my patterns, depending on the project. 3, 1, 2, oops, 3. Now, normally at the end of a row, when you do your chain, so we do a chain 3, normally I would say turn your work, and I would mean like this. That's majority of projects that you'll find. But for this one, we are now about to work on our feathers. So this that you just did is the foundation row to hold the feathers on. So we need to work the feathers on this. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna rotate our work. We're gonna turn it clockwise, and we're gonna start working right back down the foundation row that you just created, okay? So the chain 3 is gonna count as a double crochet, and we are gonna double crochet 4 times around the last post that you made in the previous row. And we're gonna work those double crochets around that post, working down the post. So you're gonna work your double crochet like normal, but instead of going into a stitch or a chain, you're gonna go right in that space and wrap your hook around the post. Yarn over and pull up a loop, and then do your double crochet as usual. So that's 1, we're gonna do 4. And we're doing 4 because that chain 3 counts as a double crochet. So technically it's like you've done 5 on here. It's a little tricky in the first one because of that little tail end. So what do I have here? 1, 2, 3, 1 more. Okay, so now we're gonna chain 1, and you're gonna work 5 double crochets around the very next post, going up the post. So you're gonna go right around that little post there and work 5 double crochets around it, going up. 4 and 5. You're going to chain 1. So you can kind of see the shape of your little feather there. Chain 1. Now it's going to get a little awkward to hold it, but you'll get the hang of it the more that you do as you go along in the project. So we're going to skip these next 2 posts, and we're going to start working in this one here. Okay, so you're going to skip 2 and you're going to start working in that one right there. Okay. So yarn over your hook, and then just grab that post that you're going to work on, and we're going to do 5 double crochets going down the post. So you're going down the post, chaining 1, going up the post. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Chain 1, and the very next post beside it, we're going to do 5 going up the post. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Chain 1. So you see it starting to take shape there? I love this stitch so much. It's so beautiful. Such a nice texture. So you're going to skip these 2. You're going to do 5 double crochet down, chain 1, 5 double crochet up, chain 1. Skip 2, 5 double crochet down, chain 1, 5 double crochet up, chain 1, skip 2. Do that all the way down the row, and then come back. And remember, you can always wind back a little if you need to see that those steps again, okay? So when you get to the end of the row, come back. Now that you finish that feather row, we're going to begin to work another foundation row. But something I want to make sure that you take note of here. When you look at the top of your row, you're going to see what looks like a double row, because, I mean, really it is. We've just worked 2 rows in the one same space. So when we're working our double crochets now to create this new foundation, I want you to really pay careful attention to making sure that you're working around both of these, okay? We're not working into any one individual row, we're working around both because that's what's gonna hold it in place and really keep it looking nice and neat. So we're gonna chain 3, okay? And we are going to double crochet into this space, just around the space there, between our first feather. Okay, and remember this counts as a double crochet. You're gonna chain 2, and then between these 2 posts from the previous row that we skipped, and making sure that we get both of these, we work around both rows here, we're gonna work 2 double crochets. So you're gonna put your hook right in there, pull up a loop, and double crochet. Oh. And we're going to do another double crochet in the same space. We're going to chain 2. And we're going to work 2 double crochets in between that feather there, those 2 posts that we worked a feather. This is just like the first foundation row that we did, and you're just going to keep on doing this all the way down. You're going to chain 2, and you're going to double crochet in between all of the posts that created feathers and the posts that we skipped. Okay, so just go ahead, keep on doing that all the way down until you get to the end, and then come back. Okay, so for this next step, we're gonna work our next feather row. I'm gonna go over this one with you, and I'm gonna go over how to end this row with you because it is a little bit different. And the pattern will become, you'll notice it'll just kind of flow together. So the way that you just did this first feather row, that will end up being the third, and so it'll be every other row. And this one, you'll see what I mean. It's going to fall into place. You're going to want to work each feather between the 2 from the previous row. Okay, so let's chain 3, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. 1, 2, 3. So instead of right away working your double crochets around this first post, we're actually going to skip the first 2 and go straight into this post, because this way the feather we work here is going to fall between the 2 that we did in the previous row. Okay, so we are going to go straight over to that third one, and we are going to double crochet 5. And the reason why, I know in the last row I said that the chain 3 counts, but look at that, right? Because we had to drag it across the first 2, we've lost that height. Okay, so we are working 5 in around every single post that we're working our feathers. So 2, 3, 4, 5. You're going to chain 1 and work up the next post. So you're just going to keep on doing it the same way. It's really only the way that you start and the way that you finish this row. Okay, so what is that? So go ahead and work all your feathers the same way you did the last one. All right, let me see, how many do I have here? 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm gonna do one more. 5, oops. Chain 1, and you're gonna skip those 2 and work a feather. Skip those 2, work a feather. So go ahead and do that. You can see what I mean here, how it falls in between. I just want to show you that part so you can understand the way it's supposed to start to look, okay? So see how it just falls between, this feather is falling between, and that's what gives it that really pretty fluffy feather look. Okay, so go ahead and work your feathers all the way down and come back to me at the end and I'll show you how to finish off this row. So now you've just done your last feather and you're left with this little end here. Okay, so obviously we're not going to work a feather here because we want it falling between, and also that's going to mess up our clean straight edge that we want to have. So what you're going to do is you're going to turn to the back of your work for a moment, okay? And then we are just going to close with a double crochet. We're going to end our row with a double crochet at the top of that the chain there. So you're just going to go ahead and push it. You want it to keep the shape. That's why we're going into this one. Okay. You see it there? So that's our 1, 2, the top of our little chain there. You're going to go ahead and end the row with a double crochet right up top there. And what do I have here? I have 2 rows of feathers now, don't I? Yes. Okay, so this is the part where it's up to you how you want to proceed. This is the back. That's why it looks so weird for a second. Okay. In the pattern that you see, the picture that I have worked 18 feather rows. Now, pay attention to the wording very carefully here. It's 18 feather rows, not 18 rows, because remember, each row of feathers technically is 2 rows of crochet that you're working, because 1 feather row needs a foundation. So I'm not saying 18 rows total, I'm saying 18 feather rows. Okay. So you want to continue on with this pattern that I've just shown you so far for 18 feather rows. In my pattern, I have alternated my colors every 2 rows. I'm going to show you how I switch my colors. How frequently you want to change your colors, if you're going to change your colors at all, is totally up to you. But just in case, for those of you that are following my pattern exactly, I will show you how I change my colors to have it just really flow nicely, so you don't end up with this weird, like the pink going on for a little bit and then the cream. So the next one I'm doing is going to be cream. So before I do my chain 3, I am going to go ahead and change my color over. So I'm going to grab my cream yarn here and I'm going to do my starting loop, get it on the hook there, and then I'm just going to pull it very carefully through, pull that pink, give the 2 little tail ends a tug so it's nice and secure. Okay, and then I'm going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And then I will go ahead and do my, you got to do your, in the V here, because remember that's supposed to count as a double crochet. So we're going to do 1 double crochet in here, and that chain 3 is supposed to count as a double crochet. Oops, sorry, I've got my yarn all tangled up here. All right, so now you will go ahead and continue on working another foundation row here. And I'm just going to do a couple so I can show you how clean that color change looks. I find that's the best. I really like doing it that way. And of course, obviously, I mean, fasten off the pink. I just didn't do that right now. Okay, so see, it just flows really nicely, right? So at this point, you can go ahead and safely and securely fasten it off down a little bit, because you want to be able to secure the tail end by weaving it in the stitches later. And that's how I switch my colors. So now I will continue on with my cream for 2 feather rows. Okay, so go ahead and work a total of 18 feather rows, and then come back and I will show you what to do next in this project. Okay, so now that you have finished your 18 feather rows, you will have finished with doing that double crochet in the back there. So you're going to chain 1 and turn it around. Now what we're going to do is double crochets evenly all the way down. You should end up with 33 at the end of your row. So in these gaps here, where it's just this big open space, we're just going to go around. When you're working along the top, push your hook through and then through the gap here. So I'll show you for a few what I'm talking about. All right, so you're going to do your regular double crochets. I'm sure by now you're a pro at this. So you're just going to go around there. Okay, so that's 1. And then here you would go right through. Okay, see how I'm going into my work there? It's like kind of a stitch. It's a little tricky because of the way that the feathers are done in that crocodile stitch. It's 2, go into the top here, making sure that you're going right through. 3, and here I'll go right through the middle. 4, and here you go through somewhat of a stitch. Okay, and just keep on doing this all the way down until you get to the end. Oops, I dropped a loop there. So just keep on working those double crochets just so it looks nice and even all the way down, and then come back. Okay, so now that you got to the end of that row, you're going to chain 1, turn your work, and now working back down the row, you are going to half double crochet in every stitch all the way down. So let me show you. Sorry about that. I ran out of yarn, so I had to reattach some more there. That's why mine looks a little funny. So you're going to yarn over your hook, push your hook into the stitch, yarn over your hook, and pull up a loop. So now you have 3 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and pull right through all 3. And that's a half double crochet. So let's do that again. Yarn over your hook, push your hook through the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. You've got 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 3. Okay, so you're just going to go ahead and do that half double crochet in every single stitch all the way down the row, and then come back. Okay, so now that you finished that row of half double crochets, you're going to chain 1, turn your work again, and now you're going to go down working a half double crochet in every single stitch, again, just like the last row that you just did. And you will do this for a total of 3 more rows. So you should have a total of 4 rows of half double crochet. Okay, so you're going to do a half double crochet every single stitch all the way down, chain 1, turn your work, half double crochet all the way down, chain 1, turn your work, do it one more time, half double crochets, and then come back. So 3 more rows of half double crochet, chain 1 at the end of each row and turn your work, then come back. Okay, so now that you've finished those 4 rows, you're just going to pull a little bit through and then fasten it off. And that's going to be the top part of your baby sleep sack. Okay, so now we are going to go down to the bottom of our sleep sack here, and we are going to reattach it, just whatever color that you're choosing to use. I'm going to be reattaching my cream yarn. So I'm going to push it into the actual chain here. Okay, get your yarn, make your starting loop, and get it onto your hook, and we're just going to pull it through and chain 2. Okay, so this next step of the pattern, we are going to double crochet evenly all the way down, and we should be left with 43 stitches by the time we get to the end. So you're going to work right around the chain. It's going to give it the cleanest look. So go right in and around the actual chain. Don't try to do all your stitches through it, because it might not turn out looking as nice and clean, I think. Okay, so you're just going to keep on going and try and have them as evenly spaced as you can. And like I said, you should end up with 43 by the time that you get to the end. Okay, so go ahead, work your double crochets all the way down and then come back. Okay, so now that you've finished working your double crochets evenly all the way down, you're going to chain 2 and turn your work. And now we're going to do a seed stitch. So, and this is when you'll find this in quite a few of my more recent patterns. I really like this stitch. Okay, so you're going to double crochet in the first stitch, and you're going to single crochet in the next. So you're just going to push through your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, and you should have 2 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and pull right through both. And then in the next one, you're going to do another double crochet. and then a single crochet, double crochet, and single crochet. So you're just going to keep on working these alternating stitches all the way down until you get to the end, and then come back. Okay, so now that you finished that row of seed stitch, you are going to chain 2 and turn your work. So now for this next step, you're going to basically, it's going to be pretty repetitive for a total of 10 rows. So you're going to work for 9 more now, all in the same color of yarn. And what you're going to do, you're going to still keep going with the seed stitch, but what gives it its unique texture is the alternating stitch. So while you alternated double crochet and single crochet all the way down, now when you're working in this next row, you want to make sure that you work all of your double crochets into the single crochets from the previous row, and all of your single crochets into the double crochets from the previous row. So since you will have just ended that last row on a double crochet, you're going to start the next one on a single crochet. Okay, so then you'd go into that next one, which is a single crochet from the previous row, so you'll be working a double. And you're just going to continue on all the way down. Okay, so you're going to do this for a total of 9 more rows, including the one you're about to start. So you should have a total of 10 rows of your seed stitch. Okay, so go ahead, pause the video, finish a total of 10 rows of the seed stitch. Make sure that you remember to chain 2 at the end of each row before you turn your work. And just make sure that you are working your single crochets in the double crochet from the previous row and your double crochets in the single crochet from the previous row. And then come back when you're finished, a total of 10 rows. Okay, so now that you've finished those 10 rows of seed stitch, you are going to chain 1, turn your work, and now we are going to begin a decrease row. So we're going to do a single crochet decrease. And the way that we do that is you're going to take your hook, push it into that first stitch there, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then you're going to push your hook right through the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. Now you've got 3 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and pull right through all 3. So what you did is you took those first 2 stitches and you turned them into 1. So it's a single crochet decrease. We're going to do that one more time. Push your hook in the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, push your hook in the very next stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through all 3. So now what you're going to do is you're going to continue on working your seed stitch all the way down the row. So we can see that this here is a single crochet. So you're going to begin with your double, okay, and then a single in the next. And you're just going to continue on working your seed stitch all the way down for 35 stitches. Okay, so once you work your seed stitch into 35 stitches, you'll have a little bit of space at the end, but that's okay. So work your seed stitch for 35 stitches and then come back. Okay, so now that you finish working your seed stitch in 35 stitches, you'll have this little space left over here. We're going to end the row the same way we started it. So we're going to work 2 single crochet decreases. So let's just do one together. You're going to push your hook in the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, push your hook in the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. You've got 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, and pull through all 3. And we're going to do one more to finish off. Like I said, we're going to finish the row the same way that we started it. Okay, so now we're going to chain 1, turn our work, and we are going to start this next row with another single crochet decrease, and one more. So we're doing single crochet decrease times 2. Okay, and we can see that this next stitch here from the previous row is a double crochet. So we're going to begin to continue working our seed stitch with a single crochet. And then our double. And we're gonna go ahead and work our seed stitch for 31 stitches, and then we're gonna end our row with 2 single crochet decrease, and then come back. Okay, so now that you finished that row, we're going to chain 1, turn our work, and we're gonna do 1 more decrease row. So we're gonna begin with doing our single crochet decrease twice. And then we can see that this from the stitch here from the previous row is a single crochet. So you'll begin your seed stitch with a double crochet, single crochet all the way down. And you are going to do that for 27 stitches. And then you're going to end this row with single crochet decrease twice. Chain 1, turn your work, and then come back. Okay, so now that you finished that last decrease row, you're going to start to see that your work is taking a little bit of a funny shape here. Don't worry about that. It'll make sense when we attach our front and back of the sleep sack. Okay, so now what we're going to be doing is working our seed stitch all the way down. We're going to chain 1 and turn our work. We're going to work that, just our regular seed stitch, for a total of 3 rows, but I want to just point something out when you're starting this one here. Because you ended with 2 single crochet decrease, it might be a little tricky to understand which stitch you should start off with to maintain the nice flow and texture of your seed stitch. So what I do is I look to the 3rd one, because that's where because you took 4 stitches and turned them into 2, the 3rd stitch here would be the proper one to make note of, to figure out where you should be starting. So this is obviously a double crochet, which would make this a single and this a double if we're working it without doing the decreases. Okay, so double, single, double. So you're going to start this one on a single. So this would be a single crochet, double crochet, single, and then you'll see it start to pick up properly. Okay, so go ahead and start off with a single crochet, work your regular seed stitch now, chain 1 and turn your work. You're going to do that for a total of 3 rows and then come back. Okay, so now that you finish those 3 rows of seed stitch, you are going to fasten off. So just pull a little bit up, get your scissors and cut the end, pull that through. And now you're done the front. We're going to go ahead and get started on the front of your baby sleep sack. So go ahead and put that aside. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and begin working on the back part of our sleep sack. So you are going to be starting with the top portion. So if you're trying to match it up with the colors exactly to the front, you're going to want to begin with whatever color you use that you have at the top of the front of your baby sleep sack is what you're going to want to begin with right now. I personally am cutting out the brown for the back. I'm doing just the cream and pink. And maybe you're not even switching your colors. I'm not sure, but I just want to make note of that for you in case you're trying to make sure that you're doing something particular with your colors there, if you wanted to match them up and have them line up exactly. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and begin with our starting loop. And get that on your hook there. And we're going to start with a chain of 45. Okay. Oops. 10, 12, 13. I won't watch you make me I won't make you watch me do the whole chain. So go ahead, pause the video, do 45, and then come back. Okay, so now you're going to double crochet in the 2nd chain from the hook. So there's your first chain. You're going to double crochet into the 2nd. Oops. I know I had such a hard time there. Okay, and we're going to work a double crochet into each chain all the way down. So by the time that you get to the end of this row, you should have a total of 44 double crochets. So go ahead and work your double crochets all the way down until you get to the end. Like I said, you should have a total of 44 and then come back. Okay, so now that you've finished that row of double crochet, you're going to chain one, turn your work, and now you're going to go ahead and proceed with your seed stitch. So you can start with a single crochet and then your double. Single, and you're just going to go ahead and keep on working your seed stitch all the way down. You're going to chain one and turn your work, and you're going to work this stitch for a total of 15 rows. Okay, so go ahead, work 15 rows of your seed stitch. Make sure that you remember to chain one at the end of each row before you turn your work. So 15 rows and then come back. Okay, so now that you have finished those 15 rows of your seed stitch, you are going to switch your color. So to whatever alternating color that you're choosing to use. In this case for me, it's going to be pink. So I'm going to make my starting loop and then get it on my hook there. Chain one. I'm going to fasten off the cream one and turn my work. Okay, and so now we are going to continue on with our seed stitch. Okay, so we finished off with the double crochet there. Sorry, so let me get this tail end out of the way. So we're going to single crochet, because now you're just going to go ahead with this other color that you chose to alternate with. If you chose to alternate, you're just going to go ahead now and continue on working your seed stitch just as you did for the last 15 rows. So remembering to chain one at the end of each row before you turn your work. So you're going to go ahead and work these seed stitches for another 23 rows. Okay, so whatever color you're working on right now, go ahead and do that for 23 rows and then come back. Okay, so now that you've finished those 23 rows of seed stitch, what you're going to do is switch back to the color you started with. So in my case, it's cream. So you're going to make your starting loop. And go ahead and get it on your hook there. Okay. Chain one, turn your work and fasten off the one that you're done with now, for now anyway. Okay. And now you're just going to go ahead and continue on like you've been doing. So you're going to be working your seed stitch in every stitch all the way across. Remember to chain one at the end of each row before you turn your work. And you're going to go ahead and do that seed stitch for 10 rows and then come back. Okay, so now that you've finished those rows and you chain one and turn your work, we're going to begin our decrease. So we're going to do single crochet decrease 2 times. So that's 1. I'm sure you remember this from when we did the front. Okay, so that's 2. Now we're going to continue on with our seed stitch for 36 stitches. And let's have a look. We can see that this was a single crochet in the previous row. So you'll begin your seed stitch with a double. Go all the way down for 36 stitches and then come back. Okay, so now that you found yourself back at the end of the row, we're going to end this row the same way we started with a single crochet decrease 2 times. Now you're going to chain one and turn your work. And we are going to have one more decrease row. So we're going to start our row with a single crochet decrease twice. And then we're going to continue on with our seed stitch, and as you can see, the stitch in that previous row right here was a double. So we're going to start our seed stitch right now with a single. And we're going to work our seed stitch all the way down for 32 stitches and then come back. Okay, and you're going to end this row with your single crochet decrease 2 times. 1 and 2. Oops, almost got it there. Okay, then you're going to chain 1 and turn your work. Okay, so now for this next row, you're just going to work your regular seed stitch in every single stitch all the way down, chain 1 and turn your work. Okay, so now that you finished that row of your regular seed stitch, we're going to do another decrease row. So we are going to do our single crochet decrease twice. That's 1. And 2. And now you're going to go ahead and proceed with your regular seed stitch all the way down for 28 stitches and then come back. And as you can see, that's a double crochet from the previous row, so we're going to start our seed stitch on a single crochet. So for 28 stitches and then come back. Okay, so you're going to go ahead and finish off this row the same way that you started it, with 2 single crochet decreases. Okay, and you're going to chain 1 and turn your work. Now what you're going to do for a total of 3 rows is just your regular seed stitch. You're going to do your regular seed stitch for a total of 3 rows, and just don't forget to chain 1 at the end of each row before you turn your work. So go ahead, do 3 rows of regular seed stitch and then come back. Okay, so now that you finish those 3 rows of your seed stitch, you're going to go ahead and still finish that last one with the chain 1 just to secure it, and we're going to fasten it off. So pull a little bit through, go ahead and cut it off there, and pull the rest of that tail end through. Now we're going to go to the top of our work here where we started, and we are going to reattach our other color that we worked with. So whatever that was that you've got in the middle going on there, we are going to reattach that at the top now. Okay, so go ahead and get your hook right in there at the start of that row. Pull it on through and do a chain 1 to start it off. Okay. Now we are going to half double crochet in each stitch across. So I'll remind you of how that half double crochet looks. And we're going to be working, I said stitch, but it's pretty much your chain row there. So you're going to yarn over your hook, push it through, yarn over, pull up a loop, and you've got 3 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and pull through all 3. And that's your half double crochet. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and work our half double crochets all the way down. Okay, all the way down until you get to the end. So go ahead and work those half double crochets and then come back. Okay, so now that you've gotten all the way down with your half double crochets and you're at the end here, you're going to chain 1, turn your work. Okay, and now you're going to go ahead and work a half double crochet in every single stitch all the way down, chain one and turn your work at the end. You're going to do that for a total of 4 more rows. Okay, so go ahead and work your 4 rows of half double crochet. Make sure at the end of every row you chain 1 before you turn your work. So 4 rows, half double crochet. Go ahead and work those and then come on back. Okay, so now what you're going to do is you're going to lay out your back of the sleep sack and take the front. Now you want to make sure for this part that the feathers are on the inside. So you want to be working with this inside out for the moment, because it will be the way to nice and neatly hide a lot of your stitches. Okay, so what you're going to do is line up the front and the back. It's going to be a little tricky. It's a little awkward. Okay, because you want to have the feathers all turned in, okay? And it's going to even a little bit seem like it's off, but it's not. Trust me, okay? So let me just show you here. So you're just going to line it up, and now we're going to just as evenly as you can. And for these parts where you see the feathers, make sure that you have the feather turned in so it turns out nice when you flip it back around the right way. And you're going to be working around the outer edge of the feathers like this, okay? Right around the outer edge. So we are going to go down one side, along the bottom, and up the other side. Obviously leaving this open, the top part open. That's where the baby goes in. So what we are going to do is line it up and make sure that you are going through evenly. Let me show you how this looks here. As evenly as you can, because some parts will be a little tricky. Right through both sides, because we have to create a seam now. And we're going to slip stitch all the way around. So you're going to yarn over and pull right through. Push your hook through both the front and the back. Yarn over, pull right through. Okay, and that's your slip stitch. You are going to go ahead and do this slip stitching all the way down, along the bottom, all the way up. Okay, and when you get to this other side over here, then come on back. Okay, so now that you have finished closing up the seams all the way around the sides and the bottom, you're going to pull some of your yarn through here when you pull your hook out and fasten off. Okay, now this is a little bit of a tedious step, but obviously very necessary. We need to hide all these loose hanging tail ends in. So you're going to take your yarn needle, okay, and we are going to go around and just hide all of these little tail ends by, remember your work is inside out right now. You want to keep it that way while we hide these tail ends. So you're just going to go and sort of weave into the stitches on the inside of your sleep sack, and make sure you don't accidentally sew the front and the back together. You don't have to do a whole lot of this, just enough that it will secure your tail ends. And you're just going to go ahead and fasten it off and throw that away. So you're going to go do that for all the little loose tail ends, and then come back and we'll do the straps to finish off your baby sleep sack. Okay, so now that your sleep sack has all those little tail ends hidden, we're still working with it inside out. And let's see what the written pattern is saying. So we're going to attach our yarn to the 7th stitch in from the seam at the front, working with your sleep sack inside out. So obviously the front is here where all the feathers are. Okay, so let's find, so here's our seam. And we're going to go to the 7th stitch in from the seam. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, and we're going to attach our yarn. I'm going to be using my pink. Okay, so we're going to attach it with a chain 1. We're going to half double crochet in that very same stitch. And we are going to half double crochet in the next 6 stitches. So yarn over, push your hook in, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through all 3. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have 7 stitches total because that first one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stitches total. We're going to chain 1 and turn our work. And we're going to half double crochet right back down. And you'll be doing this for 13 more rows. So you should have a total of 14 rows of half double crochets here for your strap. All right, so go ahead and do your 14 total rows of half double crochet. Don't forget to chain 1 at the end of every row before, pardon me, before you turn your work. Okay, so 14 rows total of half double crochet and then come back. Okay, so now that you have your strap here, you're gonna line it up evenly with the back. Okay, and we are going to attach, let's chain 1, sorry. So you're gonna line it up evenly and we're gonna attach it with slip stitches. So you're just gonna push your hook right through there, or sorry, get your hook in the first stitch here, that would be a good idea. And then push it in there, yarn over and pull right through. It's a little awkward. And you're just gonna go ahead and make sure that you're doing it, lining it up properly, evenly with the stitches in the back. So just go ahead and you're gonna close that right up with your slip stitches. And the steps that we just did for this strap, you're gonna repeat it for the other strap, and then that's it, you're done.